and that's, it is not on the RFQ. That's true, it was not required. It maybe, next time we will include that in there. So I actually called him today.
Maybe this is my mistake when we were reviewing the RFQ, but none of these mandatory requirements questioned whether or not they had any prior school board experience or whatever school boards they worked with. And I apologize, I've been out of the loop. I have not had an opportunity to look at the RFQs that came in, but my question is that which of these firms have prior school board experience and what school boards are they working with? And with the reality of the size of our district and some of the complexities of the issues we have, we're not the largest and we're not the most complex, but I would like to know if we're going to move this forward that we are looking at a firm that has had some prior school board experience and could demonstrate that, as we would with anything else.
Okay. To answer that question, from my review of them, all have school board experience. If you want to ask specifically if Frank Birulli has school board experience, he has government experience. He does not actually have school board experience. He's affiliated with Parker McKay, who were affiliated with our previous lawyer, Mr. McConnell, as backup. So, although he individually does not have it, he is backed up with by very good school law experience.
And I guess, you know, and I don't mean to be contentious. I guess my concern is that I appreciate the backup. And this is my own personal opinion. I appreciate the fact that Parker McKay has the backup. But I do realize, even in my short tenure on the board, there's a lot of things we handle very quickly and very efficiently, even in this room and in meetings. And for me personally, I would feel much more comfortable with someone I knew specifically that has worked with school boards that would not have to go back and ask questions. And not to say that he is not a very competent attorney, and I do appreciate, I mean, the diversity of his degrees and his experience, but, I mean, you know, school board law is a very specified sort of experience. So I appreciate the backup of Parker McKay, but if we're going to look for the backup of Parker McKay, we should go with Parker McKay. We're looking at Frank Pirelli, and this is my own opinion, as a firm or as a lawyer for the firm, then he should come with the experience. I mean, I don't know what the other board members feel about that.
Well, I know we discussed this before, and actually the two people that I had, the two firms that I had whittled it down to were number one and number two. Cremigno, while they're not a local firm from Pennsauken, one of their main lawyers for school board actually lives in Pennsauken. I was thinking about them until I read the paper yesterday. They were in the paper yesterday. They are the attorney for Morristown, who just had a undisclosed settlement with a special education family because, from what I read, because they decided they wanted to write new law, and they lost. That was the one thing that our former solicitor always told us, that whenever you try to write new law, hold on tight because it's going to be a very expensive ride. They did $275,000 worth of work. They gave them $125,000 for free. So they had, Morristown had to pay $150,000 plus the settlement, which was undisclosed. I made the decision when I read that yesterday that I didn't want a law group that encourages people to write new law. Yes, they are. Well, they're a North Jersey law firm, but they do have the guy locally. Bernie and I met him when we were down at the
First name's Taylor.
First name's Taylor, yeah. Met him when we were down at New Jersey School Board's workshop, and very impressed with him. He is not the lawyer for Morristown, but I don't know if I would want to go with someone that wanted to make a square stone into a round stone. It's expensive. I know that Frank doesn't have the school board experience, but he is backed up by Parker McKay, and also that he does have the government experience. I'd really like to stick with somebody local. So, I mean, with Permigno being out, I would probably support Berwood.
Any other board member have a comment?
I have a comment, just about the governmental experience versus the school experience. And I know that we keep saying about Parker McKay being the backup, but I think that it's important that everybody understand that while school law is very specific, it matches up very closely with governmental law. So when you have experience in governmental law, you can do most of the things, if not all of the things, that schools require of you. You know that law. It's very similar in a lot of different ways. So I don't want people to get too hung up in the fact that he doesn't necessarily have that experience. I personally would not use that as my determining point for the school board law itself. We have the qualifications for the RFQ because those are the qualifications that we need for our solicitor. If we didn't have them, if we said, you know, you have to have 50 years of school law, well, then these people wouldn't fit into that. But we have made the determination as a board that either governmental or school experience is okay with us for the qualifications. So just wanted to mention that to everybody.
Well, let me ask you a question.
Yeah.
It's interesting. If you were going to court, and you were going to go to court for, say, some type of real estate, right?
Yes.
You wouldn't be bringing a prosecutor, would
Well, that's
you? You would most likely want to get involved with somebody
but
and
that's
get the
apples
best
and
for-
oranges. What I would be saying here is if I was going to court for a real estate experience, and I have a commercial real estate lawyer versus a residential real estate lawyer, that would be more of a similar thing that I'm talking about here.
Gotcha. I understand. Was this I can't remember, Mr. President, was this, did we ask for school board experience, or did we change that? What are we looking for? I can't remember. Governmental experience would have been sufficient?
Government experience was sufficient.
Was sufficient.
Yes.
Did we say that in our queue? 'Cause I don't think.
Yes, we did. Anyway, any other?
I do have a question, and I don't want to hold up the show, but, is it possible, I don't know if, our superintendent could share, I did send a message to her, my son has been in hospital all week, so I am literally coming from discharge straight to this meeting. And so I'd like to look at the RFQs if I could, before I made a definitive vote. I don't want to rule out Mr. Pirelli. If we did say that was sufficient, but I would like to at least look at all of them. I know that they are in Mr. Over's office. Is this a decision that we have to make tonight? My request as a board would be if we could at least abstain the vote until next week for the motion, and just sort of leave it on the table. And I don't know if anybody else said that.
Actually, to answer your question, we advertised that we would be making the decision tonight, effective Monday. Although we did not say that we would definitely make a decision, but if we were going to do what you suggested, we would have to re-advertise.
So the date of the decision was the 19th.
Correct.
There's one thing that I have some concerns about by making the decision when you're bringing in somebody without the experience, is that I would be very reluctant to want to support any type of extended billing to have someone else come in, Mr. President,
Catch up
and
billing.
sit, because we're nurturing at the same time. So if this is going to be a go, then the billing is going to be a concern. I would not want to be into a double billing situation. I wouldn't want to see that.
Oh, you mean like,
He doesn't know this, and I got to go consult, and then you look on the bill list, there's a bunch of,
well, that's actually,
he's got to sink or swim.
that, you're absolutely right, and
And
that's,
consulting from another position, when we can not have to deal with that from the door, you know, I have concern about that, because if you're going to be the city solicitor, then, you know, if that's the way it's going to go, then, you know, we as a board are going to have to deal with that, even though it's not for a long period of time, but, you know, to see an additional billing or consultant fee for an issue, I like to be careful on that.
Mr. Starkle, I think you bring up a very good point, and that is why in the beginning I stressed that it's almost an ideal situation, and that we're only hiring this law firm for the remainder of the school year, and that is something we'll be watching. And if it doesn't work, then, Mr. Starkle, we will be looking again, just like we're going to reappoint when the next board is elected. So definitely, Mr. Starkle, I agree with you 100%.
Because his backup is at 160, right?
Yeah,
Correct.
one talks to the other, now we're at 300.
I don't want to see that.
Right, I agree.
I don't want to see that. So it's something that the board will have to sit here and really figure out why they want to do that. You know, not that this gentleman is not someone who is of high credibility, but I don't want to see that. 160 plus 140.
We'll be watching that, Mr. Starkle. We need to do it tonight, and as I said earlier, I was hoping to get a motion tonight from the board.
Make the motion to hire Frank Carulli as Esquire as legal representative of the Pennsauken Board of Education.
I'll second it.
We have a motion and a second on the question. Roll call, Mr. O'Rourke.
Mr. Kofoot,
Yes.
Mr. McDevitt,
Yes.
Dr. Maloney,
Yes.
Mr. Stargel,
No.
Mr. James Wilson, Mr. Rodriguez,
No.
Mr. Nguyen,
Yes. Yes.
Mr. O'Brien.
Yes.
Resolution passes 5-2-1.
All right. Thank you.